When's it? Oh, we're alive. Look, it worked. Stop frigging around with this spooky backdrop.
I'm not.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
It's us. It's Mel's and Acadia coming to you super fast right after the episode of American Horror Story Apocalypse. With my favorite episode since the hotel season, I think.
Yes,
That's
I have to.
What a big deal it is for me anyway.
Okay. I have to agree. This one really set the bar high for this season, so I'm expecting only great things after this. I hope you're listening, Ryan Murphy.
I don't know. He watches this show. I would assume he does, because what else has he got going on?
I mean,
oh, wait a minute. One of them just got engaged or married or something, right?
Was it? I don't know, actually. It might have been.
I don't know which one it was, though.
So hot damn.
Right. Yeah, this was big. It was.
Yeah,
as much as didn't happen in the other episodes, did happen in this one. Although when I was thinking about it, after a while, I realized that there was still a ton of shit that, like, I could have done without.
True. Yeah, some of the well, I have a lot of questions because in the beginning we see him with Miriam, but so was Miriam an actual Miriam? Because I just thought she was a robot program with those memories.
Well, present day Miriam is a robot programmed after his mother. He just made to have whoever was taking care of him.
Whoever, right. So we know it
wasn't Miriam, because we know Miriam's memories were fake. I mean, based on her saying that they were fake.
Well,
so he's got his. Oh, by the way, I just have to point out that your backdrop is just stunning.
Thank you.
It's got skeletons and skulls, and it's all dark and mysterious.
Yes. And that's all we're going to say about the backdrop. So,
fine. I mean, this is TV. I wanted people to realize, if you're listening to this on the podcast, which you didn't get last week because of technical nonsense.
Yes, unfortunately.
Head over to the YouTube and just grab a couple screenshots of Mel and all her backdropian splendor, because it looks pretty fucking awesome.
Well,
and the chat already got people in it asking a bunch of questions that I probably don't have the answer for. But Jackie says your backdrop is amazing.
Thank you.
Twisted J860 doesn't know if Michael is the Antichrist or a warlock or both.
Okay. Solid question.
Yeah. And I think, so I'm going to do the 5-second recap. How's that?
That's perfect. Right.
So we learned that Michael actually had a childhood after he was a murderous baby, and he was cared for by someone who looked and sounded just like Miriam the robot, but was his actual caregiver, who apparently killed a bunch of her husbands and wanted a goat head in order to do some magic. And one thing led to another, and Michael got in trouble by killing a butcher and ended up in jail. And the cops slipped the Hogwarts for Boys school.
Yes.
Which is what the outpost we've been in all this time actually was. A video of Michael shooting a cop up against the wall, and they said, oh, well, he must be a warlock. And what's his name? The handsome dude. I can't remember.
Oh, Cheyenne Jackson.
Yeah, Cheyenne Jackson. He's like, I don't like it. He seems pretty evil. And the other dude and the guy from SVU was like, nah, we're going to go get him. It'll be fine. So they go get him and bring him over. And then they start going, well, shit, this guy's super powerful. So let's give him some of our, broke ass level 1 tests. Because the warlocks are like shitty compared to the witches. And they've got like total inferiority complex.
And that's because women do everything better than men. Okay.
That's right. Unless it's shaving or fighting wars, and then we win.
So, okay. All right. Whatever.
They give these tests, and he like crushes them and almost kills them all in the snow test. By the way, Jackie, extra points for reading the sign behind me. Haha.
I know.
And so they're like, well, he's super powerful. And Cheyenne Jackson's like, I told you 50 times, stop winding him up because he's bad business. And they're like, nah, you're dumb. And they call the witches from the super nice plantation-y witch school. And they're like, yeah. So they were in the middle of watching Billy Lord Mallory like be a super prodigy witch herself, and then they said, "Oh, darling, we have to go see the boy witches." And it was the delightful and delicious Frances Conroy in a giant French fry guy McDonald's wig, but it doesn't matter because she totally pulled it off. And so then they go out there for whatever reason, and because it was the rules, and the male witches
call the council.
Well, yeah, but like they actually specifically said, well, why the fuck can't they come here? And Frances Conroy said, oh, it was the rules. Then the reason they brought him was they were like, hey, listen, I don't remember the character name. It's just, Sarah Paulson 7. Hey, which Sarah Paulson? We have a super warlock.
Cordelia.
Hey, Cordelia, we have a super warlock, and he might be the supreme. And she's like, oh, well, fuck that, because there isn't any supreme that's a dude. Why are we even here? And they're like, we want you to give him the 7 wonders test, and killed Misty Day, and fuck that. And then they actually did a really great call out of how come you didn't save Queenie? How come you only didn't save the Black Witch, which was pretty great. And then Sarah Paulson, we got to go back to the Hotel Cortez. My favorite thing.
Yes.
And like, it's so Art Deco-y. It's the greatest thing in the entire world.
And did it not just make you long for a hotel again? I mean, that was like one of the best seasons.
I want I want someone to make a hotel that's designed that way. It doesn't have to have devils and shit in it. It can just be a hotel. So anyway, Queenie couldn't get out, and Cordelia couldn't get her out, and she said that was my biggest failure. And womp womp. She was like, but I'm not doing any tests, so fuck off. There's not going to be a hearing, and there's not going to be an FBI investigation. Y'all can just go fuck yourselves. We're just going to vote. And Kavanaugh's confirmed. I mean, no, he's not the Supreme. So he just rammed it through Mitch McConnell style. But Michael, meanwhile, was upstairs going he was dressed like Malachi from Children of the Corn. And
for sure.
His eyes got all wigged out. So then, and by the way, Twisted is like, how can you go back to the Cortez and not show us Junkie Sally? Listen, I am convinced that we still have a chance to get all our hotel favorites.
Thank you, because I'm thinking to myself, is Evan Peters really trying to get an Emmy this year? Because let's see, Gallant, we know he's coming back as Tate.
Yep.
And March was a huge surprise to me tonight. So
yeah, he was one of my favorite guys because he's like, that was just marvelous.
Yeah.
So then she couldn't get Queenie out. Michael gets Queenie out. Then Michael goes to Madison Montgomery's
she's in hell.
Little hell, where she works at some variation of Target and gets a bunch of crappy customers bothering her perfect self, which is horrifying. And Michael comes and gets her out too. And Queenie doesn't like it because he knows that Madison is a rank bitch because she's so jealous of Madison.
Oh my. Okay, Regina George, let's move on.
And he's like, well, I want to use you to prove a point. And Madison was like, okay. And Madison said a bunch of dirty stuff, which I'm sure I'm going to cut out into sound clips for my notifications on my phone. and at the end, he comes back. And just because it's American Horror Story, they had to all get suited up in like weird goth army clothes and come walking up the dusty ass path to get there just in time to see Cordelia and the good witches and make Cordelia faint because he brought back people that she couldn't bring back, which means he's supremier than her.
Exactly. And that's why she fainted, because I believe, her powers were starting to, start like how it happened with Fiona in Coven.
Yeah, you're right.
Once another Supreme starts rising and their powers start, becoming better and blooming, then the reigning Supreme starts losing her powers.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because that's the best. Cordelia Sarah Paulson is the best Sarah Paulson.
I agree.
So now Twisted wants to know, is he supremerier than Mallory? And I don't think so. And Jackie thinks that Madison's hell is what her hell would be.
Well, the thing about Mallory, and we can probably scale back to when they started talking about, or when they did the flash into what they were doing in New Orleans, right? But the thing with Mallory is they obviously knew that something was blossoming within her that was greater than the other witches or sisters that were there studying, I suppose you would say. And so obviously I do believe that's why they did the enchantment on her, because they knew whatever they learned afterwards of what was coming, that they wanted to protect her. But is it because she may have been becoming the next Supreme? They did an enchantment on her after they found out about Michael, and he brought back Queenie and Madison. And so they did the enchantment on her to kind of suppress that supremedom, I suppose, until they needed it to come out.
So you're saying that they put her in, well, no, because Fiona didn't die, obviously. I mean, not Fiona. Even though the chat is saying that Fiona would have fucked up Michael.
Oh, for sure. Fiona,
but
I do think, well, because she was very malicious, and Cordelia is not like that. She's very harmony in nature and peaceful, and no, Fiona was badass bitch, and I think she would have taken Michael down in 2 seconds. I just don't think that Cordelia has that type of heart or motivation, I suppose.
Well, no, and I think it's a good. You can get the juxtaposition of the two camps if you're going to use Aleister Crowley's old. Oh, this is how you be a Satanist, there, and he said, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Whereas modern day Wiccanism changed it to do what thou wilt, harm none, which is, it's still pretty good, but it's also not as good as do whatever you want. And if you fuck somebody over, it's their own fault.
Yeah.
So I think that Fiona was way more on the Crowley side,
for sure,
and Cordelia's on the Wiccan side. But she lived, so they had to have been some kind of schisma.
Oh Lord, yeah. Let's don't bring Castle Rock into this, okay? Because I had a couple moments tonight where I was like, wait a minute, this is too similar to some stuff that happened in Castle Rock, and I don't know how I feel about that. So, but Yeah, I'm curious because obviously there's more backstory, because when Michael came into what we know as Outpost 3 now, but was the Warlock School, which is probably the equivalent of what is happening in New Orleans with the Coven School. This is 3 years before Bomb. All of that took place. So we've still got 3 years there to see what exactly happens, because my first thought was Michael rescued Madison from Bed Bath & Beyond hell, and he freed Queenie from Hotel Cortez. So he might expect some type of loyalty from them to help him, I guess, gain the supreme status or whatever is going to come next. I'm thinking that he'll probably do the 7 Wonders. We didn't see that tonight. But we didn't see what we saw the 7 Wonders in the Coven world. I don't know if the Warlock 7 Wonders is something different.
No, because he wanted her to straight up do it.
Right. And so, and oh my gosh, welcome back, Zoe.
Yep.
Oh, it was so good to see her. And of course, Myrtle. But yeah. And then when we saw the end of last week, obviously Madison was coming in with Myrtle and Cordelia. So I think there's more story to tell there. This is just the beginning of it. But I would have to say that at some point, Michael was expecting loyalty from those two, even though Queenie did run up when Cordelia fainted.
Right. And I think, I mean, I don't know how much I care about the role. You know what I mean? Honestly, like it's the fact that they had to establish how powerful he is. And what's her name? Miriam saying, "Hail Satan." And he said, "Ha ha ha, not quite." You know, making sure that he went out of his way to say that was not what he was. That wasn't insignificant. But I mean, they could do, if they do a bunch of flashbacks, I feel like it's because they can't tell enough story in the present. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to fight, they're going to have, what is this, 10 episodes? Because fucking TV doesn't need to make real shows anymore.
Well, the other seasons have been 12.
So 10 or 12.
Right.
So if it's 12, we're still a third of the way in.
Yeah.
They can't have 2/3 of a season just to fight. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So if we're going to have a shit ton of flashbacks and then one fight near the end, I don't know if unless they're flashing back to stuff that I think is really cool, then Damiel thinks this one is 10.
Oh, so, okay. All right. Well, that stinks.
Oh, and Jackie said, it's interesting. He said not quite when she said, "Hail Satan," just like the kid did on Castle Rock. Are you the fucking devil?
See, exactly. That's why I said I don't even want to bring up Castle Rock in this podcast or this stream right now.
Pangborn. I'm wiry and old.
I am hanging up Castle Rock until a year from now. So I'm but right, and not quite. And that's why in the beginning, I thought to myself, okay, well, he's supposed to be the Antichrist because he was born of, human in spirit.
Right.
And all this, and we've seen this season where he was channeling what we believe was Satan, and he was calling him Father. He's definitely not Satan. And what is he exactly, though? Because I don't really know if the Antichrist is a right description of him either.
I mean, the Antichrist in Revelations is supposed to be the guy that tries to kill everything.
Well, exactly.
As we established. Wait, we were talking about it. What, 2 episodes ago? It was like, if you go by the Bible, then the actual thing is the Antichrist was Nero. Oh, he killed a bunch because he was just killing Christians like it was his goddamn hobby. So in our world, there's no way that they're going to bring, Jesus down on a motorcycle with throwing bears at people. So that's not going to, although that would be a fucking dope ass thing to do.
Okay, you know who I want that to be if Jesus comes down on a motorcycle and he is throwing grizzly bears out?
Yep.
Please let it be Dennis O'Hare.
Oh, now I would sign up for that.
I will sell it to the devil right now. If you let that man come down on a motorcycle and throw bears, I swear I will never say a bad word about American Horror Story ever.
And it's not like he's got like a holster with a bear, like a big giant bear in it. He just holds up his hand and then a giant bear appears and he throws it. Like he's just conjuring them.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking of like, you know how they have the t-shirt guns? I was thinking of like that, like bears.
Oh, wow. Well, if anybody could do it, Dennis O'Hare, Jesus could do it.
Jesus can do anything, so it would be possible.
True. Except he can't make a rock that's too heavy for even him to lift. Womp, womp.
Womp, womp.
Do you want them to go to Murder House? I think what's going to happen. Here's my prediction.
Okay, let's have it.
Because you showed me that picture that got me all dewy of Emma next to the bone pile at the murder house. I think that
with a feather duster.
They need to go back to figure out where he came from so that they can beat him. So that's why they went. And I also think that since they straight up said that the Hotel Cortez was a fucking hellmouth, they were like, oh, this hotel must be in Sunnydale because it's a hellmouth. So they are just completely owning it.
Yep.
The odds of Murder House not being another hellmouth seem crazy to me.
Yeah.
It has to.
Well, in everything, it would be far too coincidental for it to not be. I mean, this is where Michael was born. This is where both of his parents, his real quote unquote, parents are. I mean, Vivian is a spirit now, but she did give birth to him. And this is what he was born, he was born from those walls. And then I don't know if in episode 6 we're going to get the reveal that it's been images of Miriam so far, or Kathy Bates, excuse me. But then all of a sudden we see Constance in his flashbacks to when he was young, or if something happened with Constance and then he did get some, because my whole thing with Miriam in the beginning was, I know that he programmed the Miriam we know with these memories of the Miriam or the person that raised him, right? And then at the beginning of this episode, we see a bit of his childhood, but it's with Miriam. So my question was, did he also sculpt this robot to look exactly like this Miriam, or are they just using Kathy Bates, as
model like?
Or you're right, as what they want us to see right now, and then we'll have a reveal when we get Jessica Lange.
I guess it's possible, but I mean, why would he want his mom to look like Kathy Bates as like Annie Lennox from early Eurythmics, but with black hair? Like, it doesn't. But why?
Or Boo from Orange is the New Black. I still call
why?
Miriam Boo.
I mean, it's possible, and I think that going back to get his real mom to yell at him or some shit like that might be something that they do. But I think the only thing that makes any sense is that they have to go back to the witches wouldn't go back to Murder House unless they were trying to get something that was going to help them fight him.
Agree. And yeah, so that's my whole thought process, because I don't know if you caught this, but when because then we saw that he was talking to Miriam Robot when he was recalling these flashbacks in the beginning, but he said to her that this was also, or maybe he said it to Cheyenne, someone in the Warlock school, but he said this would be the person that would betray me the worst in my life.
Yeah, that's true. He was talking about Miriam.
So that makes me wonder if he made somebody that looks completely different because he didn't want to look at his grandma anymore.
I mean, that's possible. That's a good call. But then I don't know, because I don't remember, but I don't think Constance needed goat heads.
Okay.
For her daily business, did she?
No, you and I are on the same page. The whole thing was very odd because no, she didn't. You know, when the last episode of Murder House, she came back from the salon after she gave the big speech about I'm going to do great things in this world, and I've been given this, what we know now is, you know, the Antichrist, quote unquote. And she came back, and toddler Mike had killed his nanny. Well, no, I don't see her all of a sudden building a satanic shrine to, you know, or like a shrine to Satan and needing goat heads for rituals. That's just not what I would expect her to do. I would expect her to feed his evil probably, but she said specifically in that salon that she wanted to actually be given the chance to raise a child right. So I don't know. There's
her version of right might be fucked up.
Right. So, you know, there's obviously a story there. I mean, we know it's going to come, and it's slated, I suppose, for 2 episodes from now, because that's supposed to be when we see her finally. So I guess we'll know what happened then. But yeah, obviously they go to the murder house, and we see the gazebo torn down and all the bones uncovered. So I'm guessing this is how they're going to get out when it's not Halloween, or is Halloween going to be a really long time, or is it going to be Halloween of that year? Because this is a flashback.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that. Well, that is interesting to me right now, because earlier Twisted said he didn't want it. I really hope most of this season won't be flashbacks like the promos, leaks, and titles lead us to think. And Damiao said, well, yeah, she's also, and she said this like 2 weeks ago, she wants me to make a Castle Rock song, but to Fraggle Rock. And now I got a whole year to do it till the new season comes out. Okay. But then she said, I think that she said, I think the only mother he ever knew was his grandmother, and I'm really hoping they don't pull some magic of a mother's love schmaltzy nonsense. And what I'm getting from people is they have very definitive views of what they don't want to have happen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's, I won't mind flashbacks if they're fun flashbacks, but if this is going to be picture it as like any action movie where, you know, the hero has got to go, oh, well, fuck, we got to go fight, you know, Mr. Claw or whatever it is. And then he's got to go around and get his gang together, you know, and go to a different spot and say, oh, come on, old Mickey. Yeah. You're the best, you know, dynamite guy in the business. Oh, I hung all that up, man. If they're going to do that and like they got to go to Murder House and they got to go to all these places to get everybody to fight Michael at the end, then I'll be good with that.
Right. Right.
But if it's going to be them trying to convert the Oprah witch who doesn't want to help them.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about that for sure.
And how the fuck Coco got powerful. They can't just be more Supremes than there are at a fucking Pizza Hut. Like it can't. There can't be super Supremes and meat lover Supremes and every other kind of fucking Supreme running around.
Well, the thing about when they were talking to Dinah, Mallory, and Coco before Michael, made himself known that he was in their presence, Madison made the statement about Coco that she's like too dumb even before they put the enchantment on her to really even like know what's going on. So, and they didn't show her.
Maybe I said we should call her Nopra.
Or I like Fopra. When I write notes, that's what I refer to her as Fopra or Nopra.
She just keeps saying nope, so now she's both.
Yeah, there we go. And of course, we obviously find out that she is part of Marie Laveau, the voodoo part of the witch world. But yeah, it just seems like she is like, no, I don't want, I really don't want anything to do with y'all, which would kind of go in time with that whole attitude from Coven itself from that season. Yep. I will tell you one thing though. Okay, because I mentioned this before that I did a binge on Coven, right, and realized what I realized when it was on 5 years ago? 5 years ago? Yeah, 2013, I think. Yep. Is right. The song that like because it came on during this episode when they went to the Coven house. It's like this because it was always in the credits of the season Coven. It's just this weird like song, right? If I had a sound clip of it, I'd play it. But as soon as I heard that, I cringed because I thought this is why I avoided any of the credits, like after the show credits and just transition scenes during that season, because I couldn't stand that little song that would play or, that bit of music. It was just so like elevator music. It just pissed me off. So anyway, they played it during this episode and I was like, no, I refuse. If you play that song again, I'm writing a very strongly worded letter.
You play that song again, we're going to fight.
I just can't. That was the only thing that bugged me from that season. And I was like, oh, fucking course it is in this episode. So.
Well, then this means something. So now I'm going to have to go look.
Well, I think it's the like witch theme music. I don't know what you would call it, but it was annoying. I mean, their beginning credits was the song, the AHS theme that we have during every, season. Right. But it was just it was like, boom, boom, boom. I'm not doing it right, but I don't know what it was about it. For next week, then. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about that though, because
we only have 8 minutes left because we're sticking to a tight timeline, people.
That's right. So, Dinah doesn't want anything to do with it. Coco is just like, I just don't want to die again. And in my mind, I'm thinking, just kill her again because I don't want to hear that whiny voice anymore. Mallory has no clue. Obviously, they tell her, we'll put an enchantment on you, and you're not supposed to know what you are right now. Michael shows up, and then that's when we get the flashbacks of how he went from eating some kind of weird breakfast with real-life Miriam that she used to poison her 3 husbands prior to becoming part of the Warlock School. Cheyenne Jackson's character, I don't recall his name. I don't even know. It might have been said like a couple of times. He's very wary of him. That's probably going to come with more flashbacks. And everyone else is super hyped because they're like, finally, we have someone in here that can do something. They think he's a level 4, and everyone at that panel is barely a level 3, they say, which would be super significant because he would then, supersede the highest that would be in this warlock school. They call upon Cordelia and Myrtle. And I know you called it a Ronald McDonald wig, but honey, this is imported. Okay, fine hair from Taiwan, I believe is what she said prior.
Ronald, then.
Okay, so she's very couture. Do not say anything about Myrtle's fashion choices.
I didn't bad. She can't do anything wrong. She's blameless.
I love her because Cordelia says something like, wait a minute, there's a smell. And I do believe that was around the time when it would have been Michael bringing Queenie and Madison back. And Myrtle is, yes, darling, it's the smell of disgusting boys, prepubescent boys. Let's get out of here. And so they show Michael rescuing Queenie. It was funny to me because as soon as, was his name J.P. March? He was probably something else, J.J. March. But anyway, Mr. March, after they had 5,000 games of, whatever they were playing together, spades, I believe. It's like the minute he saw Michael, he was like, okay, just take his hand because you're obviously out of here. Like, he's your ticket out. And so he's supposed to be the worst spirit or the worst, person in the hotel, right? Even worse than the Countess. Because he's the one that constructed it, and he constructed it as his little fantasy murder hotel. He was like, okay, and then knew she was going to leave because he said, it's back to solitaire for me. So,
well, yeah. And I think it may have been that he knew that he wasn't more powerful than Michael.
Right.
You know what I mean? Exactly. I don't necessarily think it was him being nice all of a sudden. I think it was.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, he immediately, as soon as he saw Michael, he immediately knew, oh, okay, well, this guy's like way above my pay grade. So, Queenie, you can leave. I'll find somebody else to play cards with.
Now, do you think it was that, or do you think it was that he didn't have the ability per se to do it? You know what I mean? Like, not that he was trying to fight him per se, and he couldn't stop him, but that just wasn't his bag. Like, he wasn't the one in charge of keeping people in the hotel, because she said right out that it was Satan doing it. So if that's Michael's father, then Michael's father would let him out. You know what I mean? Like, so that's no big deal.
But March obviously knew that he was what he was, and he was able to let her go. He saves Madison from, her hell. And then, of course, the three of them walking up on outpost number 3 or Warlock School, whatever you want to call it. Madison's totally badass with her cigarette, and Queenie looks amazing. And then as soon as Cordelia sees them, she faints. And it's funny to me because there were supposedly other outposts.
Right.
But I think it's funny that this is the outpost that he came to, and it happens to be his Warlock School. So in my mind, I started thinking, I'm on that band of, were there ever any other outposts? Were these people picked specifically? And since Venable killed them, even though Michael said that was his plan to have Miriam plant that in her head, what would be the gain of that?
None. It doesn't make any sense. That's the piece of it that when they go, oh, that was my plan all along. No, this was my plan all along. No, this was where were they going to go? If the witches hadn't come, I need your help rebuilding the world.
But see, that's robot. The thing. I mean, was this like it was some type of little game for him? It doesn't. I don't know. I feel like there's something missing there still as to why these people were there. And the more I think back on the other episodes, he left that computer on the bed and he walked out of there. There's no way he didn't see the two teenage mutants. Like they were not hiding by any means. No. So I just was it all just this intricate game? But what would be the end plan? Like, what would be the end game? He knew Dinah was there. He said he was surprised to see her, but was he really? And then he knows also that she's not powerful enough to stop him, but she's unpredictable. Now that we know that she's part of what the voodoo witch activities like Marie Laveau, right. What is it that's different about that type of witchery than what the Coven people have? Because to me, when I watch Coven, Marie Laveau's voodoo magic was way scarier to me than even what Fiona could do.
Well, to me, I think that the undercurrent of it, the obvious undercurrent, I'm echoing. Did you change something?
No.
Well, that's weird. The obvious feeling of it for me is that, like, Cordelia's magic is like white people magic. No, we have rules, and this is how you're supposed to do it, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? Magic. And voodoo magic was like, well, fuck no, we're just going to do magic, and, and so the idea of these are the rules and we're in tune with everything and we're dictating how everything is supposed to go is a super commentary on, just people that think they're in charge of all that shit. Sure. Whereas if you're going to call it wild magic or more raw, more natural magic would be powerful and it would be scarier because unchecked power is scarier than, oh no, you have to go through parliamentary procedure type of power. So I don't know, but I don't call it evil. Like if you were going to do D&D alignments right now, which I did in Castle Rock Historical Society, which is going to be up soon. Hannah and I recorded it. And,
nice.
And I'm going to see her in 2 days at Women in Horror Film Festival.
Atlanta people, go. Or surrounding area people, go. Peachtree City.
So the bottom line with it is, I think that the people doing the Dinah style of magic are not worried. They're not evil. They're chaotic. They could they're like chaotic neutral or even chaotic good. Like they're like, okay, well, more like chaotic neutral. We're not going to fit in a bunch of your laws. And as long as we're all right, we're not going to, cause a bunch of trouble or attack a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say that the other witches are probably lawful neutral because they're not straight up good, because it's not like they're running around witching cancer out of existence or any shit like that.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're at best neutral and they think they have more important things to do, but they do like to follow their rules, like Myrtle said. So now we're over time like we always are.
Well, so we're not really over time because we started at 10:50 or 11:15, but still, yes, we're at time limit. But I do want to say this. I also almost equate Dinah style magic to something a tad bit more tied into what someone would probably call satanic. And the only reason I say that is because they do a lot of sacrifices. They drop the pentagrams and they summon things from that. Where our as you call it, white people witches, they don't really do that. They like to go in and chop up plants and, you know, make roses turn different colors.
Yeah,
so
but that's marketing. That's, I mean, I don't necessarily like, because remember, they weren't nice in any way.
no, and I'm not talking about nice or you know, I'm just saying the type of magic is very, very different. And so that's why I almost think, well, Dinah knew who Michael was, because perhaps in the Dinah style magic, they're a little more acquainted with, you know, his family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be. I guess we'll have to see. I'm interested to see where they go with it, because it's touchy. Like, you can't. There's no way that they're going to make a show saying, "Oh no, the black people are the bad one." Yeah, you know what I mean?
No,
like, they're never going to. But you draw some interesting points in her neutrality. You automatically think, well, neutral is worse than good, as opposed to neutral is better than bad. Like, you immediately go, well, all the good guys are right here, so if you're not with them, then you must be bad. But she specifically wasn't saying that.
Yeah, and she was very neutral. She just was like, I want to get to wherever it is you're trying to promise people that they're going to go. I just want to, you know, whatever. I'm not trying to mess with you. You're not trying to mess with me. We're trying to coexist. And I think that's why I say that style of magic is probably a little more cohesive with what Michael represents versus what Cordelia's bunch represents, because they don't want that type of power or that type of, you know, power, I suppose is the right word, to reign.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So then now I have a final parting question for you.
Okay.
Here's my last question.
Okay.
Why did Michael, when he was doing his little apparating test, go up on the ceiling like Rubber Man did in a previous episode? Was it to imply that he was Rubber Man? Because what the fuck was the point of there being a Rubber Man? Why the fuck killed Jalen Collins if she would have died from apple poisoning the next fucking episode anyway? Why?
I mean, I don't want to get too tinfoil, because, you know, I do tend to do that. I like to wear the tinfoil caps. I like to really get out there with some of my thoughts. But I'm telling you, just from rewatching Murder House after watching Coven and then after starting this season, I can't help but wonder what Tate was in his life. I mean, obviously he was bad. He did a bad thing. He was killed. He's trapped by the house, but he's an evil entity in that house. He's not Myra, or he's not Vivian, or he's not Violet, right?
Right.
He was always portrayed as there's something sinister about him, and he's an evil entity in the house. And we know he was Rubber Band Man. And I don't think he was ever on the ceiling, though, in Murder House.
He wasn't in Murder House, no.
So the ceiling thing is new to this. So again, that makes me wonder, was it Langdon in the Rubber Man suit?
I mean, yeah, he did shoot up that school. So he was a bad guy.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, was there something in his life? Because even Constance at points during the season would reference back to he was a bad person. And also, you know, again, and I'm taking my tinfoil hat off after this, but when Addie was run over on Halloween night, and Constance wasn't able to get her to the house in time for her spirit to be trapped, Billy Dean did channel her to Constance, and Addie said, "I'm glad you didn't get me to that house, because I'm scared of Tate now that I know who he really is. So I don't know if they're going to expand on that or if that was just, you know, more kind of trying to illustrate that he's just not a good person. He might try or whatever he was trying to do by saying he didn't remember what he did. Right. But, you know, so that could be fluff for that. But it seems like if you're going to bring back a season with his spawn, that there might be a little bit more to him. And that might be a reason why we go back to Murder House specifically.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I
like the idea of there being beings of such exceptional power that they need to be dealt with at some point, whether, you know, even if they're not ambitious. And the only parallel that comes to mind right now is remember Peter Jackson did the Lord of the Rings movie. Yes. And he fucking put every single thing from the books in those movies except one. Yep. Tom Bombadil did not make the cut. Mm-hmm. And in the books, they said, you know, well, we can't give him the ring because he'd just fucking leave it somewhere because he doesn't give a shit. Right. But when Sauron took over all of Middle-earth, the only one that would be left would be Tom Bombadil because he was so fucking powerful. So like the equivalent of that being Tate but bad would be kind of fun. Yeah. Like it would be really fun. Yeah. So and so because he's the one that's murdered everybody in that house for the most part since he was killed. He murdered the couple on Halloween and it's because they wouldn't have a child. It's like he kind of disguised it as this thing for Nora Montgomery, which I hope they finally make the connection there with Madison. But, you know, it's almost like he was able to, he saw her as a mother figure because Constance never was one. But there was something so sinister in him that he had no problem killing other people and trapping them in the house, you know, to try to accomplish something. It's a very strange thing. No other entities in that house did that. None of the rest of the residents of that house, the nurses that were killed, etc., they weren't trying to kill people that moved into the house, you know, and keep them there. So then the only thing that I mean, they're going to have to really work hard to sell that, though, because if Langdon is the son of Satan, I don't care what you say. If you're going to allow that there's a Satan in your universe, there's not going to be other guy over there that's just as powerful and bad as Satan, because that doesn't make any sense at all, unless it's some kind of, oh no, all you were doing was like, I needed you to be powerful enough to free Tate from the murder house so that he could fuck up the world. Like, now that I could see. Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, what if he was something out of this world, I guess you would say, you know. Like Tate is Cthulhu. Like what? He's Cthulhu. Oh, gosh. So this was an amazing episode. I can't wait to watch it like 7 more times. That's how excited I am about it. Last week we didn't give our cube mallows, but this is my 5. I don't regret using it for this. I hope I have more 5s, but I loved this episode from start to finish. I couldn't believe that it was over. I felt like it had just started and it was over. Probably because I love the witches so much and there was a lot of that, but I love what they're building on the backstory of Michael, and it's got me really amped up to see what they're tying Murder House into this with, because I've read some stuff, you know, obviously we've all done that. And I know that the actress that plays Zoe and Violet, there were scenes of her as Violet filming with
Evan Peters as Tate. I think that's one thing we do know is that he fell in love with Violet and she will have nothing to do with him. So it's almost like, will she be a huge part of containing whatever's coming? I don't know. Again, I told you I wear my I have the tinfoil hat on at all times. So if this doesn't happen in this season, I just wrote a whole like addendum or like a companion guide to this season that I hope everyone would buy and read. So
you should just start releasing it on the gallery in serial format.
Oh, in installments. Yes, of course.
Right.
Of course.
Just dole it out. Well, then look at that. We're right at where we're supposed to be.
I know. This has been excellent. I'm so happy, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us for a very special live instant reaction. I've had a blast tonight.
Yep.
We are doing this tonight because of the Women in Horror Film Festival that is going to be in Atlanta this weekend. So hit that up. Acadia and the rest of Superficial Gallery Gang is going to be there representing. So if you are going, let me know. Write me a review or write Acadia in the gallery a kick-ass review, and we will be forever indebted to you.
If you wrote a review and reviewed our table as a vendor, then that would be us being honest with ourselves.
There you go. And if you do go and you go to the table and someone happens to have on a very kick-ass Superficial Gallery shirt, then
you can thank Mel's for that.
This is the work of Mel's and her machines. All right.
So then we'll be back next week, but we're probably going to do it back on Friday, I would think, instead of Wednesday, because I love doing the instant thing, but we can't do an hour of instant and then like 17 hours of Friday night shows. So we're going to have to figure it out. But let us know on Twitter or email us at superficialgallery@gmail.com and let us know if you like doing the instant reaction or whether it's too late at night or what you think.
Yeah, please do. We're welcome to all the feedback because we are here for y'all. And without y'all, we wouldn't exist.
That's right. I would literally not exist. I'm not real.
He's not. There's nothing under that mask, people.
Nothing. Lies and hate and all right, everybody. Go to sleep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.